What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy TruckerNamedJay checking in, man. I'm just sitting here, man, and I am just contemplating on the decisions that I've made and, the things that I'm deciding to do. And just thinking about this transition back OTR, man. It's going to be tough. I ain't even gonna lie. It's gonna be tough because I'm so used to seeing my son every day, so used to seeing friends and family every day, and now you're talking about just transitioning to a point back where I don't see them for a long period of time, and just, I don't know. It's I'm ready to do it, but it's just like just still dealing with the reality of it. Just like this is what it's gonna be, you always get cold feet and a certain anxiousness, especially when you know you're about to leave. I mean, OTR drivers know when you come on home time, and then when you go back on the road, that's the toughest part. But I think the thing that gonna keep me level-headed, and the thing that's gonna keep me gonna keep me straight is knowing that this isn't a long-term thing. I think a lot of guys, especially like local guys, when they think of OTR, they think of it as like a local position, because when you get in a local position, you immediately, sorry, I'm trying to get out of the sun. When you think of OTR, you immediately think, when you think of a local position, you immediately think of long term. Like, I could stay here for like 4 or 5 years. So when you think of OTR, and now you use that same mindset, it's just like, oh man, do I really want to be OTR for the next 4 or 5 years? And I think that's what started to scare me a little bit, because it's just like, I don't want to be gone that long. But, I'm realizing that I know that this is going to be a short-term situation, 6 months to a year, and then we'll reevaluate where we are then. I strongly believe at that point, my situation will be a lot different, and then I will be able to transition back to a more regional, if you will. But really, I could be regional now, because if I take the fleet owner's proposition, I could be gone for 2 weeks at a time and home for 3 days. But then again, do I only really want to come home for 3 days? So it's just a lot of things that go into it. But being away from family is definitely hard. I mean, that's why I never talk shit about OTR drivers, about that aspect of it. Maybe I talk a little shit about the pay, but back when I was lying to myself. But anyways, it's just, having a son. If I didn't have a son, it'd be so much easier. But just leaving him behind, it's tough, man. This is the reality of this industry. To make more money, or to make the money that you want to make and be able to do with it what you want to do with it, you gotta sacrifice a little bit. And I'm learning that now. I thought that I could balance it out being local, making the money as well as being home. But what I learned is just that with the everyday expenses that it is required to be local, the everyday expenses that you're just going to spend just off of GP being local, you're just not going to save as much. I'm not going to say make as much. You're just not going to save as much. So it's a lot harder to, especially for me, because long term ownership is the goal. I mean, I've stressed that on multiple occasions. I want to own, even if it ain't a truck, some type of business that is creating enough residual income to where I don't have to work full-time hours as the owner of that business. You know what I'm saying? And when I say full-time hours, I mean I don't got to do no 60 hours in a work week. You know what I mean? I understand that being a business owner is still going to be required to work, but paperwork and management is a lot different than the labor, or physical labor, or the requirements of being a worker for a business, if that makes sense. But that shit was nasty. I need to get some chapstick. Man, I need to drink some water. Forgive me. But yeah, so like at the end of the day, man, I just got to deal with it. I got to understand that what I was trying to do, what I'm trying to do, is just a lot more difficult to do it local than it would be for me going back OTR. It just is, man. I don't know yet how far I'm gonna try to go with it. 1 truck, 2 truck, 3 trucks. You know, real estate business, group home business, investment company. I don't know how far I'm gonna try to go with it, but I do know that it's gonna be a lot easier OTR. So I just try to keep that in mind when I head back out on the road, or as I transition back on the road. You know, I just got to keep that in mind and understand that the things that I'm going to miss out on now won't be as great as the things I'll be able to experience later. You know, the lifestyle that I'll be able to provide for my son later will justify and suffice, you know, this sacrifice for a year or two while he's, you know, 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old. The things that I'll be able to offer him at 13, 14, and 15, you know, on top of the quality time, like just financial, will, you know what I mean, it'll make up for it. And that's what I got to keep in my head. That's what I struggle with, and that's what helped lead to me going local, because of my fear of that, missing out on time. But it's not so much missing out on time, it's just knowing what time is okay to sacrifice. Because yeah, anything can happen at every given point. But at the end of the day, I believe to truly do something great or something different, you got to do something great or do something different than what you're used to. You know what I'm saying? You just can't be different than everybody else doing the same thing. And being local, I was doing the same things that everybody else around me were doing. Getting up, going to work, working overtime, but just with the expenses that I created being home, it just really didn't separate me like OTR can. You know what I mean? Like, most times in order to elevate, you have to separate from your situation. You got to separate from certain people. You got to separate from certain mindsets. And it's a lot easier to do that OTR. I'm not saying you can't do it locally, but it's a lot easier OTR. So that's where I'm at with it, man. I'm going to miss my family. I'm going to definitely miss my son. But I just have to understand that it's a reason behind it. Whereas before, I was just kind of going with the flow, had no clear vision, no path, no nothing. So I was just going with what felt right. Now I'm starting to put together a more solid and functional plan that it's easier to not get veered off track with emotions and impulses. So we're going to see how it goes, man. We're going to keep pushing, keep striving to be better, and keep striving for the future we want for our kids, man. So that's what's going to, help with the transition back OTR. That's what's going to help with the emotions that's going to come with being in that truck by myself. And I think I'll be all right. I think I'll be fine. I think he'll be fine. And I think it's going to work out how I see it working out. Because now it's just learn with all the lessons that I have, knowing everything that I know now. This is the closest I'll probably be to when I was leasing and training with Swift as far as money-wise. With the mindset that I have now, I think I can do some damage, man. I really do. But we're going to see. So, appreciate you watching the video. This is just shit to go through my head as I transition back on the road. Yeah, man, as always, stay safe, stay positive, stay productive. God, family, trucking. We gone.